Hey all, welcome back to Ascending with Ashley. I'm Ashley. Hey, this is a collective convo about perfectionism and also procrastination. Shout out to Bob Marley. Today's Bob Marley's birthday. And I just want to shed light on that because he's one of my favorite humans ever. He was born in 1945. He was only 36 when he was killed by the CIA. How did they do it? Have you ever heard this story? They injected a tack, like a thumbtack, with cancer cells and put it in his shoe. True story. So anyway, 2025 minus 1945. He would have been 80 today. Wow. Anyway, okay. So we are jamming to Bob. Happy birthday. Anyway, perfectionism and procrastination. So some of the times when we have been abused or mistreated or neglected or some sort of emotional trauma of some sort, it can kind of make us cope in unusual ways. And perfectionism and procrastination is one of those ways. Sometimes we feel so much external pressure to perform a certain way, whether that's just perceived or it's actually there, like that pressure is actually being placed on us. Again, most of this stems from some sort of emotional abuse, neglect, or trauma. So procrastination comes and plays in this is because when perfectionism becomes so debilitating that like you can't even move at all. You just kind of like freeze, right? You go back into a space of fight or flight. We're gonna have to talk about the vagus nerve, but not in this conversation. I just want to take notes though. But anyway, when there's been so much pressure on you to perform, or if people have had these high ass expectations of you for all of your life, and fuck, what did I just say? Oh. Sorry, I'm taking notes in my notepad. We'll talk about that later. Okay, so perfectionism is the need to like have everyone perceive your work or you as perfect, which we know is not real, right? It's uninhabitable. No, that means living. I don't know. Either way, you understand what I mean. It's not something that needs to be that way. So, if you're someone who struggles with tasks, like getting things done because whatever the reason, maybe you have ADHD or some sort of diagnosis for mental health, regardless, all of that stems back to this moment in which someone made you feel like your own expectations of self were not good enough, or you yourself were just like not a good person, right? Again, stemming back to that emotional neglect, abuse, whatever it was. So what we do is we self-sabotage our own lives by either getting in our own way by not doing something, or doing something last minute if there's a due date on it, which means it's probably not our best work. For me, I'm someone with ADHD. When I was in my undergrad, that was how I got things done. I would procrastinate, and this was a learned behavior from my own mother. She's very well aware of her shortcomings in perfectionism and in procrastination, but has not changed the tide on that, hasn't changed it. So for me, it was something that was also put on me, but I'm the cycle breaker. And I was like, I'm not, once you're aware of it, you can change it, you know? So like, why don't you change how you are? Like, that's why I say all the time, like, wearing things like they're a badge of honor is just, what's the point of that, you know? So anyway, feeling the need to be perfect, or to it it's a seeking, it's a validation and a seeking, perhaps even a self-soothing technique to get a praise from others, right? But honestly, it's really problematic. Let me see if I can get the actual the def. Hold on. Um, Perfectionism. Okay. A personality trait. See, yeah, it's not a personality trait. It's a trauma response. That involves setting unrealistic goals and placing high demands on oneself or others. Perfectionists may have high standards and may struggle with anxiety, depression, obsessive compulsive disorder. But I want you to understand that's the difference. This is not a personality trait. It's a trauma response, as are most things. Um, so, so again, procrastination, waiting to do something, knowing you need to do something, not doing it, that's a really vicious cycle that can take up space in your head. And instead of doing the thing, like my example is dishes. I used to be really, really bad about dishes. But what I realized is once I cut my mother out, it was easy for me to take care of myself. So my mother would always enable that behavior by doing it herself. And that was the codependency and trauma bond. It would be like, I know I need to do this, but I haven't done it. Funny joke. No, that's something that you need to address, right? Especially if it's like basic as hygiene or cleaning or, taking care of space, whatever, each other. The act of delaying or postponing tasks, even when it's known that there could be negative consequences, it can be a common experience, but it's often seen as a negative trait. Including, according to Google, the causes of procrastination: fear, perfectionism, low self-esteem, depression, trouble focusing. So I think the thing is like when we're aware, right? When we know better, we do better. So when we are aware of the things that we're doing, and the reasons that we're doing them, then we can change the behavior. And when we start to change the behavior, we're going to be confronted with probably the radical or root problems, right? So you may have to clear out some, emotional gunk, right? I'm really sorry for the ring light in my glass. I can't do shit about this. This is our setup, so whatever. But that shit's irritating as fuck. Anyway, so you may have to go through like inner child healing or decolonizing, or as you're doing that work, or integrating your shadow, right? Those are the big three. It's essential to be able to heal yourself. As you're doing that work, some of these things may come up: perfectionism or procrastination. And ultimately, it's just a way of you getting in your own way, denying your own growth, denying your own healing, denying your own success in some aspects as well. It depends again, everything is on, it's not a linear process. So, maybe what you're procrastinating or being a perfectionist about aren't as serious as, other things, right? So the severity of the situation, you yourself know what it is for you. But if it is something that's come up for you in the past, or something that you're pretty aware that you do, I want you to remember that probably stems from inadequacy or external situations. Again, whether it's abuse, neglect, others' expectations of you that were unfair, right? So remember your strengths when you are going through this process. Don't allow the acknowledgement of this to uproot you. Obviously, that's not the intention of any of my content. It is to, become whole and integrate everything that you need to stay balanced as possible, to be as functional as possible, and to keep your nervous system as balanced or regulated. Okay, and we'll talk about that. I have to get some supplies for that, but we'll talk about that in the next few days. I also have Buffalo Soldier. Oh, okay, so I'm gonna check this. We've done this. Alright. Okay. Alright. Happy birthday to Bob Marley. Took some reefer today. Listened to some reggae. Enjoy the vibes. Have a good one.